Did you miss me, YouTube? Alright, we have a whole metric shitload of things to discuss that's happened since the last chapter of Adventures in Game Development. Before we do, though, we have two new teammates, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves before we get into everything.
Hey guys, my name is Jeremy Likes. I'm the new musician for Elysian Shadows. I just wanted to take a couple minutes here to introduce myself. I, like many of you, am a huge Elysian Shadows fan. Watched all their videos, even the ones back in circa 2007, 2008, where Sarcastic Falco was on the camera telling us how to learn C++. I think his explanation basically boiled down to, hey, if you want to learn C++, go learn C++. And so ever since then, I just had sort of a sick fascination for the work that he does, and just kind of worked out that to where he was making a video game of his own. And dude, I thought that was awesome, because at that time I fancied myself a budding game developer as well. So in any case, just kind of got into the series. Really, really interesting stuff going on there. I like the R-rated rough cut kind of stuff that they have going on. And so I checked them out, and yeah, just been following it ever since. And this year in particular has been really interesting, right? Like many of you probably have picked up on as well. Just kind of got the sense that there was a little trouble in paradise this year. Things aren't quite going the way they need to be going on the team and stuff like that. And I know that Falco is probably suffering silently. So in sort of a Band of Brothers kind of way, I kind of just reached out to him and said, hey man, well actually it didn't start out that way. I actually kind of got in his stuff a little bit, but in a very professional, nice way. But I kind of noticed that he was drifting a bit, and I didn't completely know the full story either. But I just kind of gave him my take on what was going on. And so we established a dialogue, kind of an interesting story there. Maybe we'll come back to that at some point. But anyways, it boiled down to me just kind of reaching out to him and, having a little sense of humility and humanity and that kind of thing. And knowing that when you're going through a hard time, sometimes it just helps to have somebody reach out and offer their hand to kind of pull you up out of the dirt. And so that's what I did. I gave him a call and I said, hey man, I know that you're working on this game really hard. I know you're suffering. Is there anything I can do to help? I happen to be doing music on a number of other projects. I happen to really enjoy making game music in particular. And I said, hey man, is there anything I can do to help out in that regard maybe? And he's like, yeah dude, well, send me your stuff and I'll check it out and let me see what you got going on. And so I did. I gave him a link to a Dropbox folder that had all my music in it to that point, right? And he just never got around to listening to it. Took 2 weeks, went by, and I'm like, all right, man, well, what'd you think? And never getting any response and whatever. And so I was like, well, screw it, man. I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to swing for the fences here. So I just went off, and over the span of, 2, 3, 4 days, something like that, I came up with the theme for Lauren. And I said, hey, just kind of knowing that if I wrote a song specifically for him and his game, maybe it would pique his interest. And I was right. He checked it out. He was incredibly impressed. I'm really not trying to pump myself up here or anything like that. I'm just trying to relay the facts as I saw them at the time. He seemed to be really excited about it, and I was like, great, well, let's get started, and there's some politics going on the team at that time, and they kind of still are, actually, but anyways, there was a little work to be done to get me on the team, let's put it that way. And so as a final rites of passage, before he really wanted to push to have me on the team, he wanted me to take on the task of making the ES theme, particularly the theme that plays during the title screen, right? And that sort of like theme that's going to interweave its way throughout the rest of the game. So I took on the Pepsi challenge, and I jumped in and I gave that a shot. And it took me about a week or two to get that kind of nailed down. And he really liked it. He wanted me to kind of revisit it and add some more chiptune kind of stuff in there, which I don't have a ton of experience with, up until that point at least. And so I did. I worked them in as best I could, you know, making sure that the chip tunes worked as a complement to the music and not as a detriment or such that it felt forced, really. And so it went really well, and he got me on the team, made a big announcement about it, and I've just been, you know, flattered and super excited to be on the team ever since. So a little bit about my musical background. I come from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Go Seahawks, Myrtle Beach High School. I played trumpet since about age, when was that? I want to say 12 or so. Yeah, something like that. And just kind of played it all the way through middle school and high school. And I did about every band you can imagine: jazz band, symphonic band, concert band, marching band, pep band, band of brothers, any kind of band you can think of. I was pretty much there. Went into college marching band, which if there's any of you out there who are considering not doing college marching band and you're doing high school marching band, totally do it. It's going to make all of your high school years really pay off and make it worth it. You get to go to all the football games, and if you happen to go to a college that has a really good football team, you get to go to all the bowl games and just have just amazing amounts of fun. So totally recommend you do that. Don't pass up that opportunity. I then went on to do drum and bugle corps with a group here called the Denver Blue Knights. They happen to be one of the top drum and bugle corps in the world. For those of you who don't know what drum and bugle corps is, just imagine a professional marching band, and that's kind of what you got. Lots of running, jumping, amazing feats of humanity happening while playing a musical instrument, and that's kind of what that all boils down to. And it's really about perfection, right? It's about you get up at 7 o'clock, you rehearse until 10, 11 o'clock at night when it's required, and most times it is required. And then during the evening hours, you travel on a bus to different states and different competitions, and you just kind of chisel away at this rock until it's just perfection, right? And by the end of the summer, it goes on, you know, from the beginning of summer, basically from Labor Day on, or not Labor Day, Memorial Day on, and it finishes around August, mid-August. And so I did that, and that was really fun, real super cool thing to do. If you guys ever have the opportunity to go try out for one of those groups, totally do it. And that's not to say that I don't. I'm this amazing, incredible, talented musician or anything like that. I just work hard at what I do, and I've got a ton of room to grow. And I do have a good sort of grounding in music. I do know what sounds good. I do know how to compose music. I do know some music theory. And so that kind of gets me through. And I'm really looking forward to this project because it's going to push me and prod me in different ways and really help me grow as a musician. So I'm super looking forward to hearing back from you guys. Candid, honest feedback, of course. And yeah, so I'm just really excited to be a part of this awesome team. It's really cool to finally be surrounded by incredibly talented people who are just as driven and just as pumped as I am to put out a really polished, awesome product. So really looking forward to kicking some ass and being a part of this awesome time. So I'll see you guys soon, and thanks for watching.
Hey everyone, my name is Brandon. I am the social media manager for Elysian Shadows, as well as I'm helping out with some level design and story writing. So just a little bit about myself. I am 23 years old. I've been doing video editing for about 7 or 8 years. I have done vlog content, I've done skits, I've done gaming content, I've done a bunch of stuff for that. I have been doing game design / development for about 2 years now. I left my English majoring ways to pursue my true dream, which was game development and design, which I'm super thankful to Falco for letting me have this opportunity, and I'm just super grateful, especially because, like you guys, I'm actually a fan of adventures in game development. I've been watching since about episode 25. I'm not like a hardcore, but I have gone back and watched the previous episodes, and I've really enjoyed their stuff. And so I'm super pumped to be a part of making the new line of adventures in game development, helping make it even bigger and better. So as a social media manager, I'm here to help with the Twitter, the Facebook, YouTube editing, AIGD, as well as replying to comments, the Kickstarter, just pretty much everything social media. You will see Falco in the comments of YouTube a lot of the time, though he really enjoys commenting on there and Facebook. I'm gonna be, like I said, I'm gonna be helping with level design. So if there's like anything you want to see out of me as far as like level design or even social media, please let me know. I kind of haven't found my place yet as far as AIGD goes. I don't know what kind of like stuff you want to see, what kind of little bits or whatever you want to see me do, what kind of content you want me to provide. I am I am going to do some contests and promotion stuff for Elysian Shadows. I'm going to get a lot of fan involvement. As a fan, I know I would love to be involved in this game. I'm super pumped to be bringing some fan involvement to this project. It's going to be really really fun. I'm here as the PR guy, so I am here to make you guys as happy as possible within the means of myself. Whatever I can do to make you happy, I will try to do. So anyway, with that, I actually have a contest thing that we're doing for this month at the end of this video. So if you stick around and look out for that, then you will be able to see it. And it's really exciting. I'm super pumped about it. It's really cool. It involves Patrick, so that is your little hint towards that. I think I have one more thing to talk about in the video besides that contest, but I will see you guys then.
It's been so long. I just wanted to show everyone where we're at now. Patrick had to go back to Poland, and in the last video we were out here in the desolate room of emo-ness, so I decided to commandeer this entire room to myself. So I'll show you around my new dev setup. This the world map right now, or at least one of the continents for ES. We got the obligatory whiteboards full of math and shit. Got a nice little trash can. There's a bed here in case my fiance pisses me off or I piss her off. That's where I can sleep. And then this is the setup right here with way the hell too many monitors. Over here's a bunch of random electrical stuff and video game consoles here for, research, the Virtual Boy. So right here is my main development platform, the Mac Pro. These two monitors are going to the Mac Pro. That's where I do most of my development stuff at. This is the Linux server we built in like the last episode or the one before that or something. That's running the build server and everything right there, so I can easily swap between platforms. Here, just pushing under this bitch. There's a KVM switch. You can't really see it very well, but right here, can reach my hand down there while I'm typing and coding and just push this little button. It'll swap keyboard inputs. There's the Dreamcast. There's the Ouya. There's my MacBook Pro. This right here is my new little baby setup. It's my little electrical engineering desk of all kinds of cool projects. Right here's a bunch of obligatory electrical shit, wires, solder. Got a soldering station right here. Got a bunch of resistors, diodes, photodiodes, aka LEDs, bunch of tools and shit. I'll go into some of the cool shit we're doing with that later on, but I just wanted to show you. Oh yeah, and then of course we have the same as last time, in the shitter we have the library of the ancients right here. All the wisdom and shit that I use while I'm coding. So yeah, it gives me something to learn while I'm taking a shit right here.
Well, I'm back in Poland. Back in my good old room. Unfortunately, I'm sick, as you can tell. And there are also a couple more changes. So let's go through basically my setup and workshop. I don't have fancy camera like Falco does. I'm using a webcam, but it should be good enough. Just let me get the cable. So yeah, as you can tell, like the room is really fucking small. There is like the balcony door and fucking old heater, lots of mess. Oh, there are my antidepressants even, and this is like my workstation, which oh, by the way, like one of my monitors, you can see there it is. It actually blew up, so I don't even have a dual screen for my workstation. So now I'm using my laptop as like an impromptu second screen because that's all I can afford. Like, thank God for the laptop at least. So yeah, and here's like my tablets and shit. There is not much space, but it's enough for me. But that's basically me back in Poland. I really do miss Alabama. It was fun with rest of the guys and not just being by myself in this cold place. But shit, it's cheaper and I can stay legally here as opposed to America, to which I have only like visitors visa. I can only come for a few months, which is better than nothing. But you know, I'm not going to break any laws because that will be not cool. So yeah, that's my workstation. I don't know what else to say. I'm sick as fuck, as you can tell. Also still bald, but I think I recently I need to start shaving more frequently because that's like 2 days and I already look like a hobo. Jesus fucking Christ. Well, the realities of game development.
So we're about to discuss one of my favorite parts of ES. This is a gameplay mechanic that I'm really passionate about. I play a shit ton of RPG. Well, I used to play a lot more RPGs, but since you guys have been bitching at me to make YouTube videos, a little bit less now. But this is, in my opinion, one of the most fundamental concepts in gameplay mechanics in a good RPG is a good job or class system or vocation system. And that's something that since the inception of Elysian Shadows on the Dreamcast, I've always been like super fucking passionate about doing in ES. So, we have spent a significant amount of time fleshing out the class system and how it works into combat and the different class types you can have. We're highly influenced by games like Dragon Quest VII has a fantastic class system. I know the gameplay is not quite for everyone. We're also influenced by games like Bravely Default. And one of the things that I think makes a great class system is the fact that after you master a class, you get something to keep. I think that games with the shittiest class systems are games where a class is just a transient thing. Like, oh, I need the water ability, I'm going to be this class. Well, you're not getting any real benefit from mastering every class. So basically, there's no reason to move outside of mastering one class that you want to specialize that character in. The best class systems are the class systems where classes net you abilities, whether they're passive, whether they're spells, combat abilities, that you keep after you've mastered the class, or other stats. Because then suddenly you have motivation to master every class as every player. And in Elysian Shadows, that's kind of how you're able to take each character in the direction that you want to help let them specialize in. So if you have a character that sucks at healing, making them master the class that's great in healing, gain those abilities, and gain those status effects is one way that you can fundamentally change what your characters are good at. And you have a lot of incentive to master every job. And in Elysian Shadows, our jobs are called echoes. And I don't want to go too much into the storyline concept of that. I don't want to piss anyone off. And I might piss Patrick off by showing part of the unfinished lava dungeon that you're not supposed to know about yet. Just pretend I'm not showing that. But anyway, so we have a type chart for all the different spells and stuff. We have a system for all the echoes. The echo system that we have is actually multi-tiered in the fact that, for example, our echoes aren't this name, but let's say you master as base class as priest and you master warrior. Well, you can combine these two to unlock an intermediate class of paladin. We really like that system because, once again, you're using classes as more of a very complex ability tree system fused with classes, and that's way more powerful. That gives you way more incentive to explore that. So as far as in the game right now, the back end is all there for classes. We are basically, they're being done as database entries into Lua. We have what stat bonuses they offer, you know. So if you're going to a warrior, they have really good HP, physical attack and defense. If you're like a magey kind of person, then they're way better at magic and stuff like that. And you might take a little bit of a hit on physical damage. Although if you mastered warrior before that, you can equip some of warrior's past abilities to make you better at that. But anyway, without further ado, so for example, here's Julian. Everything that you've seen so far is base Julian. He doesn't have a class or an echo equipped right now. So for the sake of demonstration, let me take Julian and real quick equip what we're calling our Fire Mage Echo. Our Echoes are very, very unique, I will say that. Not many games, I haven't seen half of these Echo types in any games. So Julian, boom, is now a Fire Mage. So when you change into the Fire Mage Echo, once again, your outfit changes, all of your equipment, as well, all of your weapons still show up, thanks to the fucking skeletal animation system. But now you'll have much better fire defense, you'll learn a lot of fire-based moves, and you'll have different abilities that you'll unlock associated with that class, and then later on you can combine those abilities with other classes. But this is something I think that's really going to make ES stand out and is really going to give a whole bunch of depth to the combat. Alright, so I kind of talked about this in one of the older videos, but I didn't actually have the circuitry necessary to do this. So one of the things that we've always done with ES is we've been developing for every platform in parallel instead of making the game for one and then half-assedly porting it to another one like EA does. So we have all of this shit in the build server. You can see we have all the different builds here for shit. GNOME crashed. For the different builds of the toolkit. There's Mac OS builds, Debian builds, Windows builds, and unit tests and stuff. So one of the things we need to be able to do is unit test this shit on the Dreamcast. And it's especially important to be able to do it on the Dreamcast because it has a lot of different limitations that we might not be aware of when we're pushing something. It might work fine on every other platform, but you ran out of RAM on the Dreamcast. You allocated too many variables dynamically through Lua because every variable is on the heap. Or you use too much texture space and boom, you just ran out of fucking VRAM on the Dreamcast. So having an automated test setup for the Dreamcast is very important. And one of the problems is that you basically have to have a Dreamcast on running 24/7 to do this effectively. To have the build server every time we commit a build, run the build on the Dreamcast and report shit back. So, let me get to why this thing is fucking annihilated and mutilated. What we have here is I have taken the Dreamcast's what the fuck is this called? Switch. So when you push the button to turn on the Dreamcast, this switch here is shorting this, which is an entire 120 volt AC coming in from the wall, coming in from here, which will fucking kill you if you touch it. We have it going to this relay chip right here. And what a relay is it allows you to turn on something that's a lot fucking higher voltage with something that's a lot smaller. So this 120 volt AC right here can be switched on over here by only 5 volts. And what this is a Raspberry Pi 3. Yeah, got some books and shit. This is a Raspberry Pi 3 that's going to be running a build slave from our Jenkins build server. So every time this motherfucker builds the Dreamcast build, so it's a standalone Dreamcast node, it's going to know, oh shit, new Dreamcast build. It's going to be able to turn the Dreamcast on from the build and run the shit, run the Elysian Shadows unit test, load every level, test every Lua script, make sure that all the resources are okay, report it to the build server, and turn it off. So I can demonstrate, basically just imagine that what I'm doing right here manually with the pin is being done programmatically from a build script, which will take 2 seconds. So what we're doing is we are toggling this relay mechanism here through a GPIO chip. So this one right here is on plus 5 volts. It's active low, so when this gets grounded, it's turning the Dreamcast on. So watch right here. This is the light. When I take this right here and ground it right here, boom. Dreamcast turns on. If I had the lid on, you know, the CD would be spinning. It would give it a few seconds to boot up, then it would submit the build, run everything, report back, make sure everything's okay, and it would turn the bitch off by regrounding it, or actually reapplying the plus 5 volts here. And then that would be completely automated. And while I had this shit open, I figured, hey, I might as well. So the Dreamcast actually has, deep in this motherfucker, it has solder points for building a reset switch. Even though the box didn't have one, it's just power and open. This right here, this tiny little button, is actually taking the pin out for reset, for resetting the CPU, and a ground, and it's just grounding that reset. So if I push right here, that is actually doing a hardware reset on the Dreamcast, which I figured if I'm already taking the motherfucker apart, that'd be sweet. So yeah, I'll show you guys once we have all the Jenkins shit set up, and I'll show you it making the build in real time and reporting the stats, but all of the hardware is ready to go.
Hey guys, just wanted to kind of give you a peek at how I go about comprising a song. So if my Skype would quit going off like crazy, that'd be awesome. If you hear a little beeping, just ignore it. So this is my little notebook. This is where I keep everything that I do for ES. Here, it's just a little Staples notebook from Staples there, as you can see. But if I sound a little mellow right now, please bear with me because I've been living in Floy Forest for quite a bit here. And this is one of those songs that just kind of came to me. I was riding the bus home today, and it just kind of popped into my head, man. It's really weird how sometimes it works out like that, and then sometimes you grind and grind and grind like I am on the damn church song, for example. And nothing just kind of falls together. So I'm having one of those good days, and so I'm going to run with it. I even forewent a little engine lovin' from Falco earlier. He's going to do a little tutorial, but I'm going to let my brother handle that and then teach me everything he knows afterwards. Anyways, so this is kind of the thought process, my crazy mind map, if you will, on how I make a song. So first you'll see like the title of the song. You got to give it a personality, right? It's got to have an identity. Then I kind of get into the instruments I'd like to use. So, any sound engineer, well, I don't know. I can only speak for myself. But when I kind of sit down, I'm like, oh man, I've got so many sounds. I don't really remember which ones of those I liked in the past. Or every now and then you'll strike the key on a sound and you're like, oh man, I gotta log that away in the memory banks and use that for, this song or that song. Well, a lot of times your memory just kind of doesn't do its job and you forget, right? So what I tend to do, and it can take quite a while, is you go through your library and you just pluck the keys one by one on each sound until you find like a particular sound that you really like. And that elicits the emotion you're looking for. And one of the places I actually like to start before I even do that is I'll hit Google and I'll kind of pull up a model song, if you will, like a song that really drills down into the emotion that I'm striving for, trying to hit. And in this song, the Floy Forest, couple things. Viridian Forest theme, which was referenced by my brother. I didn't play Pokemon, never have. I was a little too old for that when it came out. But so I missed the whole Pokemon craze. But regardless, it's a really solid game. Have a ton of respect for it, and a lot of people seem to like it. So Viridian Forest was a huge influence. But even bigger than that is I went back and I listened to Ashitaka no Densetsu. Right, so the legend of Ashitaka from what is it in English? Princess Mononoke. Yeah, and that is a fantastic piece of music, and it really, the movie in general, really captures sort of that forest, that deep nature, spirit of the earth, Gaia kind of thing going on, and so it just hit me the right way. And maybe that's part of why today it's going so well, is because I sat down maybe 2 days ago now, yeah, something like that. My wife was conked out, and I just kind of listened to that song, one phrase at a time. So sometimes that's 1 bar, 2 bars, depending on how complex the notes were and things like that. But that song is relatively slow, so I was able to successfully copy it, mimic it, whatever you want to call that, in about 30 minutes or so while she was sleeping. And she woke up to me actually playing the song. I unplugged the headphones and slyly just kind of played and woke her up. But so she seemed to like that. She's Japanese, so she has really fond memories of that from childhood and stuff. Anywho, so yeah, that's kind of my process, right? And so because I took the time to do that and really get deep into a song and get deep into the psyche of the composer of that piece, I was able to kind of like hit the ground running today, I guess. Maybe that'll be my thing going forward. But next thing you're going to want to do is come up with your melody, right? And usually your melody is what drives the rest of the song, really. So your bass line is going to support that melody, and your chord progressions and everything like that. And if this all sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, I plan on doing a video series. Well, maybe not a series, but at least segments inside of Adventures in Game Development where I talk about music theory and stuff like that. So, look forward to that. So yeah, you bust out what sounds you like, and then you come up with a melody. And this is kind of the melody I've got going on here for the fillet of fish. I must be hungry. Fillet forest here. So check it out. That little piece right there. You see that little segment? Let's grab it. That's kind of my theme here. Let me play it real quick. Okay, did you hear how the bass line, if you'll notice, so the bass line's kind of chilling over here. Let me scroll on over here. The bass line's over there, the very leftmost side there. And it's kind of some deeper, like cellos, strings, and stuff. Again, this is kind of my skeleton. This isn't my final instrumentation. I'm just kind of laying things down, the notes down, if you will, like penciling them in almost. The iPad version of that, at least. And then I'm going to go over to the keyboard and add some things and change the instruments around and do some live performances and things like that to give it that human element. But anywho, so that's your melody. Over there's your bass line. The bass line just kind of supports your melody. And in this case, the key I chose was C minor. So it's a really good sort of like mysterious, dark, but not too dark, right? A little bit of hope in there, a little bit of intrigue. And that's really the emotion we were kind of going for. So I went with C minor. But so your bass line's got to sit there and support those chord progressions, and your melody's got to stay within key, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that going forward. But anyway, that's just kind of my thought process, guys, and kind of how I go about attacking a song. And hopefully this helps some of you budding musicians out.
Alright, so I've been working on a bit of a surprise because this is something that's needed to be done for a while, and we've been abusing the shit out of the dynamic lighting engine trying to emulate kind of what this does. So what I've done is, okay, here's a scene, and I have implemented, look, dynamic lighting, lights, shadows. I've implemented bloom lighting, except I fucked everything up.
Jeez.
Well, actually, no, that is real bloom lighting. It's just overly bloomed to all shit and applied to everything, irrespective of whether or not it's actually emissive. But it's cool. I think we're going to release it like this. It looks like the new Tomb Raider anyway. With that much bloom shit.
Hey there, boys and girls. My name is Laura Julie, and I sure do like some bloom lighting.
Okay, so here is a quick explanation why artists should be using Git as well. Like, it's totally a programmer's tool. Also, I'm sick as fuck, but this is important. So Falco wanted me to do some modifications to animations for sword attack, right? Julian's sword attack, because there is quite a delay like after the strike happens. So the wind up is very short. It's like literally like 5 frames or something, and then strike happens, and then there is the cooldown period, which is most of the animation. And he wanted me to remove the cooldown period on all of the attack animations so that he could adjust it with engine and see what's the best thingy so that I could animate it then. So, just for testing purposes, because right now we're stuck to what the animations are doing. Um, Unfortunately, it's been such a long time that I was looking at Julian's attack animations that I basically forgot, how they work and stuff like that. And Spine doesn't have a way for me to preview multi-track animations the way they're supposed to be, so I can only see the parts of it, like just hands or just legs. So that's not ideal. So as I saw this animation, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, Jesus, there is something deeply wrong happening here. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be, right? I guess. Because like I felt that for some unknown reason I thought that he's handling the sword with 2 hands instead of 1, where in actuality he has like one-handed sword and a spell in the other hand. So the way the animation is working, it's making perfect sense. And in addition, I was in the newest commit, like all the way here, I was making where the fuck am I? I'm here all the way back here. Yeah. So basically, I was when I was adding, I thought that maybe when I was adding skins to Julian, I fucked something up, and I couldn't, and I was like, Jesus, if I need to like right now redo stuff, because there was like a spine update which removed certain features which I was using when I was making Julian animation. So I'm all panicking that I will have to change fucking everything and shit. And fuck, what am I opening? I don't want to open TeamSpeak GC, like I shouldn't be sick. Whatever. Um so now I'm all panicking, so I rolled back all the way back to like fucking what's that? Like a month ago, like almost 2 months ago, to see, what the fuck is going on, before all the changes and stuff like that, to just see, how it was looking originally at the point when I was sure that I didn't fuck up anything. Lo and behold, it's looking the same, so thankfully I haven't fucked up everything, which means that it was just my perception, like, and now I remember, like, that no, that's how it's supposed to look, nothing's wrong, everything's fine. um but I can now easily just reset, reset. Fuck, I don't want to merge anything. What the fuck? It was supposed to be a hard reset. Jesus. Jesus, Git, please don't do this to me. Also, I forgot to fucking close this thing. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I know. Everything's changed. Don't panic. Okay, I guess that's working. Am I in middle of merge? No, I don't understand. Anyhow, let's open Julian again. Let's see. Also, I need to remove this GIF. That's not supposed to be there. Come on, spine. Bingo. Um. Yep. Yeah, let's check on the skins. So yeah, by the way, here are the skins, which are pretty fucking cool. Not the draw order, animation, hands, spell, sword attack. And in the hindsight, okay, so now we can see, yep, it's working as fucking intended. And let's change the skin. Yep, it's still working as fucking intended, because he's attacking with one arm. With the second one, he's holding a fireball. So when he does the slash, the other hand's like the hand isn't here, the hand is here, right? So it's like, and the spell one goes back as a counterbalance. So yeah, I was just like, basically, the long story short, I was panicking. I didn't know what to do. But before I started fucking up everything, I decided to use my Lord and Savior Git to see the previous iteration from the time when I knew nothing was fucked up, so that I could assess the damage. Thankfully, nothing was fucked up, and I just saved myself a heart attack and possibly few days of blindly fucking around in panic. Git.
So I'm working on like a little lighting for a cutscene in the forest. The all loved campfire scene that a lot of RPGs have, that is very feelsy and introduces a lot of character development and shit like that. Just the guys around the fire. So I'm working on the lighting right now. Let me zoom in and show you. I'm running into a few problems that aren't really my fault, but I want to show you like some of the shit that we have to do. So I was working on basically the kind of dynamic light that the fire would give off. See, look, it's like looks really good, and it would be a directional light, or not a directional light, it'd be a point light. I don't actually have the fire effect, but I'm trying to prefab and map out the lighting effect of fire. But notice that the spine-based entities, okay, so the barrel and all this shit, the grasses, tiles, those are not spine-based entities. Those are all casting shadows very well. See, the spine-based entities, they're having some trouble. They're not casting shadows, they're self-shadowing. There's some issues going on there. And the same goes for the actual dynamic day-night light. Enable that. I can fast forward time here. See, so the sun's coming up, and here come the shadows for the day-night engine. So those have their own dynamic shadows along with wherever the fuck my fire pit light went. But see, entities aren't casting shadows from that either. Where is that goddamn light? Okay. But see, the test light, the fire pit light is still casting shadows, so all of dynamic lighting, this is dynamic lighting with directional light from the sun, with omnidirectional point light and all that shit, works perfectly well for non-spine entities. But spine entities like these, let me show you why there's trouble. Spine was not made for 3D games, and Elysian Shadows is essentially a 3D engine. So if you look at the world in 3D, pardon the frame rate, I've got a bunch of debug shit enabled, so it's like shitting out to the log a million times over here. But if you look in 3D, you'll notice a couple things. Here's Julian walking around. Notice that the non-spine objects are properly oriented in 3D. They're standing up like billboards correctly. Whereas, notice the spine entities are flat as fuck because there's no three-dimensional data for spine entities. So they're self-shadowing, they're laying on the ground. I mean, I think if you jump, yeah, see, if Julian jumps, he's casting a shadow as though he were fucking flat. And that's essentially the problem with the spine components, is they weren't made for 3D, so they are essentially flat. So one of the things that I would have to work on is reorienting shit or parsing spine shit in 3D space to bring it up to be affected by dynamic lighting correctly in that scenario. So otherwise the fire cutscene is going to look weird when the boys and the girls of the party chilling around the fire don't actually cast fucking shadows, but their entire environment around them does. That'd be pretty funny. Anyway, back to nighttime.
So what I'm kind of working on today, this is my Friday afternoon when my wife is working, so incidentally it's the best time for me to get stuff done and kind of have a selfish day. But in any case, you can see here I've got this folder. It's a Dropbox folder where I just kind of keep all my files so that I can access them from any one of my computers in the house. And it's just convenient for me that way if I want to get in and get my hands dirty and mess with the tracks themselves on whatever device, or if I just want to listen to them. It's just nice to have that ability, so I store everything on Dropbox. It's not linked to the project at large or anything like that. We've got a separate GitLab instance that kind of handles all that stuff. But anyways, so what we've got here is we have Lauren. This is the first track that I sent to Falco when I was kind of going back and forth with him about whether or not I should be the musician or not, and this is the one that kind of got his attention. And it's really weird because I had not really seen any more of the game at that point than you guys have. I just, I've watched pretty religiously all of the AIGDs. And Lauren was, of course, the town that's usually showcased in those videos. So I had a pretty good sense of, the kind of the emotion that I'd like to create with the track, right? Anyway, to continue on, so Lauren was the first track I sent to Falco. Let's give a quick preview of the song. Let's see, audio or projects. So when you're doing any type of audio engineering, what you're going to deal in are pretty much two planes of existence, right? You have your audio files and your MIDI files, and for those of you who don't know, MIDI files are essentially bit representations of what's happening in the music. So, a whole note, a quarter note, a 16th note, 32nd note, triplets, accents, dynamics, things like that are all stored in a MIDI file. So once you have a MIDI file, what you can do with that sucker is you can pop it over to pretty much any instrument that you have that interprets MIDI data, and that's pretty much all modern electronic instruments. And you can use that sound library on that device, right? So it's a really cool way, no matter what device you happen to lay the track down on, you get to use your entire sound library. It's very versatile. And it's just extremely useful to have that capability because you don't have to sit there and replay a track on different instruments to get the sound you want. You can just record it once and be done, right? Once it's an audio track, now there's definitely ways of getting around this, but the general rule of thumb is that once it's an audio track, that's kind of like your pressed, your final version of that particular sound or that particular track. And so that brings me to the next thing, tracks, right? So when I lay down a sound, or an audio engineer lays down a sound, they're doing so with tracks, right? So if I want to lay down a drum section, right, I might start with the bass drums, some hi-hats, that kind of thing, some kicks, some toms, whatever. Once I kind of finish that off, as long as it's using sort of consistent instruments that are all being played relatively at the same time, right? I can record that as a track, and then I can go back and record another track, which might be my brass instruments, or my trumpets, my baritones, that kind of thing. And then, yet another track might be my strings, and again, we could do vocals that way, right? So it's just kind of a really, systematic way of perfecting your music, because you can just rapid fire. If you make a mistake, you can just let it loop through and start over again. It's really quick rapid fire development in terms of audio engineering, and it's fantastic. I just love the idea of tracks and looping and just the wonderful things that these awesome electronic instruments can do. So not to blather on too much about that kind of stuff, but what we're going to do now is kind of take a look at the first place I'm going to go to on this is I'm going to open up my Ableton Live project here that I have stored that just kind of has my presets for my keyboard. Whenever you buy a keyboard, you have to go through this arduous process of linking together the keyboard with... let me get this keyboard out of the way. Or actually just kind of set it off over there. You have this arduous process of syncing it up. It's not necessarily arduous, but with this keyboard, it's very expressive. As you can see, the keys are rubberized, right? And if I press here, I can slide the notes. If I depress the key like so, just very lightly, it'll reflect in the sound, right? And if I were to, give it more velocity by pressing harder, it would reflect that in the sound as well. So, if I wobble, it'll do some vibrato. And it can do all of sort of the major things that any other keyboard can do, just without all the fancy dials on the side that you normally see that allow for modulation and things like that, right? So this keyboard kind of does all that for you.
What's up, guys? It's Brandon. I just wanted to talk to you about what I've been doing recently. I just got this, ESDK uploaded. I've been working on stuff, just kind of getting used to it, learning it, and getting in there and just trying stuff. So recently what I did is I went ahead and added warps onto these doors to send you to an area that I've been working on, which is just the interiors of the Lauren home. So I'll go ahead and show off a little bit more of that. Go ahead and zoom out. Right now it's kind of barren. We got a lot of empty houses, and some filled with a little bit of stuff and some filled with a lot of stuff. And I just kind of been working on filling these homes with stuff that looks good and works and has interactability, like bookshelves and cabinets and stuff like that, just to make sure there's a high level of interactivity when you enter these homes, so that you're not just walking into a home just to walk into a home. Because there's a lot of RPGs out there that'll just, you'll walk into a home, see an NPC and they'll provide you with a small little tidbit, and that's about it. And I don't like that. And so I'm gonna try and fill these guys with stuff that like these vials. This is for the potion shop, and maybe you go down to these, even there's these chests here, and maybe they'll have potions in them. And then maybe you check this anvil over here, and it says, "Hey, here's a sword." I mean, I don't know why you'd do that, but yeah, I just kind of been filling them with what I got. And if there's something I'm missing that I feel like I need, I report to Patrick. I say, "Hey, could you sprite this out for me?" And I make a task for him, and then he gets back to me, and I put it in here. And that's kind of just been the process so far. It's just fill and request, fill and request, fill and request. And that's kind of just how I've been working it right now. This is, like I said, this is very barren at the moment, but I will be filling it with more stuff in the days to come. But yeah, I just want to give you guys a little sneak peek of what I've been working on personally, as well as just, the social media side of stuff is going to be coming up here at the end of the video. So check out that. It'll be good. So I will see you guys then.
Alright, so today, as in right fucking now, we're going to be talking about the Sega Dreamcast VMU, which is Visual Memory Unit. So, this motherfucker pops in the Dreamcast controller like so. So on the Dreamcast, it can be used as an additional little 8-bit monochrome 48 by 32 pixel display. So a lot of games show additional information on this. Resident Evil shows your HP. Sonic Shuffle shows your hands, your cards that you have, so other people can't see it like this. It's kind of cool. It offers like an additional display, kind of like the Wii U, the fucking tablet thing on it that I can't think of what it's called.
Or
so
the
anyway,
GameCube, Game Boy Advance.
yeah, like that. So this was like that original concept. So go to the file manager. You can see here's the VMU. Here's all the files on it. It works like a memory card from that perspective. But take this motherfucker out of the controller. Suddenly, it's a standalone unit, right? So it's got 2 batteries in the back. Turn it on. It has 3 different modes. This is the file manager mode, so you can see all the different save files on here, and you can actually connect VMUs like so and trade data. You can see waiting for data. So I used to like bring this to school and trade data with my friends and stuff. There's another mode for clock, which was like in elementary school. This was my clock because of course I didn't have a smartphone back then because I was like 2. And then the last and final mode, which is most badass, is called game mode. Come on. It's loading up the game. Give it a sec. Check it out. So this let you, certain Dreamcast games, the most badass ones, actually came with mini games that you could play on the VMU. So this is Pinata Quest. It was bundled with Skies of Arcadia back in the day. So you play Skies of Arcadia on Dreamcast, and you could take this little bitch with you and play it while you were out or while you were at school under the desk, and the teachers would bitch at you. So all of the really cool like Dreamcast games, some of the most pivotal games like Sonic Adventure and stuff, have VMU mini games like this. So of course, obviously, Elysian Shadows, trying to be the Dreamcast game that it is, we of course want to write a VMU game to go with it. Also, some games like Chow Adventure even let you connect like this to trade, and that was fucking sweet. So what we wanted to do with Elysian Shadows for the VMU is, with our Echo class system, we wanted to have a monster tamer job or class that actually let you tame monsters Pokemon style throughout the game. We already have all the stats and everything built into the game, all of the experience tables for them and abilities and shit. So say you're this class, you can tame monsters. Oh look, it's a ship I can fight. Then you can offload the little bastards onto here and train them Pokemon style while you're away. Level them up and stuff like that. Maybe connect them and battle them, which would be awesome. Then you come back, you put it in your Dreamcast controller, and then you can use it in battle on Elysian Shadows. Well, the problem with that, there's a couple problems. One, that is fucking over every person who does not own a Dreamcast. And 2, that is spending a shitload of time, development time, writing 8-bit assembly code for this little obscure microprocessor that's not going to be used anywhere. So basically my solution to this problem, and I'm doing it in a way that I hope I can encourage other Dreamcast developers to use my solution to do this with their stuff too, is I've developed a full-fledged VMU emulator for people who don't have the VMU, to run it on their iPhones, to run it on just in the background on their computer machine. It can run on Android device, Razer, Ouya, anything the game itself runs on, this can run on. So for example,
so you can select it from the main menu.
Yeah, basically from the main menu, you would type in the IP address of your phone or whatever, and then you'll be able to set it here while you play the game and use it as the extra display for the game in Elysian Shadows, and then you can also offload the monsters onto the game and experience the game. And since it's emulated, it is the 100% same hardware experience, and we'll be writing the code one time and it will run everywhere. So suddenly we're not wasting a bunch of time developing a VMU minigame for one niche group of people. So we're pretty fucking excited about that. That's one of the jobs I was most excited for in ES, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff we can do. It's similar to the concept of Chow Adventure, but I think we could take it a little bit further than that with Pokemon, little tiny Pokemon style battles and with trading and stuff like that. But that's the basic concept that we're hoping to pull off here.
Alright, so my voice might be almost giving up because I'm getting more and more sick, but hey, let's at least talk about what I was doing. So, Falco asked me to do some icons for VMU and VMU emulator. Emulator was kind of easy. We found Falco found the spec sheet for the VMU display, and I just copied the icons in quite a big size because it's going to be displayed only on PCs. So we can afford just make them look nice and pretty. So I believe they're like 60, there might be even 128 pixels wide. They're pretty big. And there are like the 4 basic icons for the VMU, right? The cooler project was making the VMU image that we can use for control setup. So we're gonna just drive some arrows here, and it's going to be like a VMU key binding screen. The cool thing is that it's all done in a vectors, so it's infinitely scalable. If I can just, I don't care about buttons. Buttons be gone. I wanted to show like, yeah. So there's like the lines are separated. You can see here it's all done as a vector mask, which is really fun. So there is no particular reason why I did it the way I did, other than why the fuck not. So we can like print VMU the size of a building if you want to, like put it on Empire State Building VMU or something. The cooler thing was making like test icons for VMU that are going to be actually displayed on the VMU, right? Because this shit is fucking tiny, like holy fuck. It's like only 48 by 32 pixels. It's barely bigger than one tile in the engine, so making anything for it was such a bitch. So, I made the logo and stuff, and then I was fiddling around of making like the base human for for our NPCs, right? So we have like this guy, we have Alexios, we have Rand with his revolver, we have Amber, uh, we have Eren obviously, and Julian, and they're so tiny. I tried initially, like I believe like with the base, I tried to do some stats on the side, like for stats and the bars, but there was just like no enough fucking space for anything. It's I have no idea how anyone could make anything useful for the VMU, like in terms of displaying anything. Like even a text is such a chore because, like, let's say I want to write strength next to the guy, right? So I get my trusty pixel brush, I get my pen, because I ain't going to draw with mouse. I'm not a barbarian. If this shit would be working, I would. Sometimes I need to like plug it, unplug it. I guess my PC is getting older and doesn't load all the drivers on the startup. But yeah, like if I would want to fucking write anything, so here we go with S, right? I mean, maybe I can make it smaller. Oh, that's a giant ass eraser. That's way too big. Come on. Oh, the pen didn't load all this. Jesus. Yeah, I might have to like restart some stuff. But yeah, Okay, now it's broken. Yeah, that will have to be edited. Yep. Can you like unstuck yourself? Nope. Oh, now it's just fucking dead, is it? No! Shh, great. Fuck, and I stuck it again. Yeah, it really doesn't want to load the brushes, does it? Come on, come on, come on, do this for me. I just want to load the brush. Don't be an asshole, thank you. Much better. Alright, so let's say I want to write S. Create this brush, okay. So it's like S D. I can put it here, I guess. S T R. And that's like, you can't really go any smaller because what the fuck am I going to display, right? It's pretty much impossible to go smaller. Is that like a good R? I think like that would be better. It's like, yeah, SDR, and that's sizable amount of screen real estate. Like, you know, it's, you can have like what, one shit, it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't display my tablet as Wacom device. It displays this as a, like, it makes my PC now into a, you know, touch screen device. That's retarded. I guess I would have to like restart my drivers, but anyway, so, you know, it's wait, why can I not move it? What's happening? Oh, because that's yeah, that's the movement. Silly me. Yeah, I'm sick and I'm losing my mind. So I say let's try to like stack a lot of text on top of each other, right? Because we want to display lots of stats. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of text, and that's it. Like, you literally get only 4 lines of text. That's like, what the fuck are they going to put in there? So, you know, text is hard to display. Any meaningful icons as well. So making anything for VMU, it was like just those like couple little guys to display our party. That was challenging as fuck, you know, to make it all presentable and look like actual in-game shit, and that, you know, it's gonna be so much fun to make the rest of them. Like, I'm bitching because I just passed out because I'm sick and I woke up, but in actuality it was actually tons of fun to, like, you know, fiddle with all those like little tiny pixels and shit. Yeah, that was pretty fucking great. So yeah, VMU, that's going to be exciting as fuck.
Okay, alright, so this is Elysian VMU. This is an emulator that I coded before any of you were like,
Oh my fucking god, he made an emulator still working on Elysian Shadows!
I made it in like 2 weekends when I would have been resting or fucking off on Netflix anyway, so don't give me that shit. This was a stretch goal for ES that was not actually paid for, but I'm delivering this to you and to the Dreamcast scene anyway. So this is Elysian VMU. This is a full-fledged VMU emulator with more features than I've ever seen any other VMU emulator have, and I'm pretty proud of that. It boots up to our logo. Let's go through some of the functionality here. Open ROM. It maintains a history of all your recent ROMs. I have yet to find any real compatibility issues with ROMs. There are a couple issues here and there, but they're few and far between. It also uses the libgyro backend from Elysian Shadows, which means all of the rendering code, all of the input code, all of the sound, the debugging, the fucking, basically the entire back end from Elysian Shadows, the multi-platform framework, is what is powering Elysian VMU. So Elysian VMU will also be running on the Dreamcast, on the iPhone, on the Ouya, on the Android, on any device Elysian Shadows will be running on for that reason. It also obviously supports controllers just like Elysian Shadows does. So for example, here's Chow Adventure 2. Oh, and it's pretty sweet. You can totally play the VMU 100% full screen with a fucking Xbox 360 controller. This is the Chow Adventure 2 from Sonic Adventure 2. So, this is my first adventure. A and B map to the actual A and B on the VMU. The D-pad maps to the actual D-pad. It actually supports the analog stick, which maps the D-pad, so you can play fucking VMU with an analog stick. And then the L and R triggers, L is slow down, R is speed up by 10x. So you can fast forward through this fucking Chow bitching at me. Let me type some shit. Leave me the fuck alone, Chow. Oh, he's talking to me more. I love adventures. But today I'm feeling a little down. The truth is, you know that thing that's always above my head? Anyway, you can see there's Chow Adventure. The emulator has saving state, loading state. It keeps a cache of all your recent ROMs. It optionally allows you to specify a BIOS. Here it's actually deserializing and reproducing the icon that is on the Sega Dreamcast file manager. That's what's going on here, and it shows you what's running. You can actually go to Tools and dump that icon or dump the iCache. So you can rip the icons from the actual Dreamcast and they'll go to your home directory, Elysian VMU. So here's some icons I ripped from, for example, Skies of Arcadia icon. Here's the one I ripped from Chow Adventure, one of the frames down here. You can rip all the little icons. Let's open another ROM. Fucking open ROM. Shit. Open recent. Fuck. Chow Adventure 1. Whatever. That's Chow Adventure 1. You can enable, disable audio emulation. Something cool is you can enable the low battery emulation. So I want this to be an entire integrated SDK also for developing VMU games, which is pretty hard because it's a pain in the ass. You have to put it on the hardware. But my emulator allows you to even emulate, so I can emulate the low battery signal when I try to load Chow Adventure 2, replace the fucking battery because you turn low battery on. So you can turn that off. Load a different ROM. Let me find a different ROM to show on all my millions of ROMs. Let's see. I think there's a Dance Dance Revolution for it. Oh yeah, DDR. Alright, so you can also take screenshots. You can generate a disassembly of the ROM code. And then you can look through the source code of the ROM image and assembly. That's right here. That's the disassembly of that. There's a bunch of other tools and shit for developers. You can actually, it has a built-in, through the command line, instruction set reference. So you can look at all the different assembly opcodes and shit in it. Something I'm pretty proud of is emulation. This isn't fully working yet, but this is the only VMU emulator that I'm aware of that can even attempt to do this. TCP Connection Manager. So I wrote an emulator to emulate the VMU to VMU connectivity over TCP IP. So you can emulate sharing and trading shit on Sonic Adventure, battling your VMUs, mating them, by using this. So you can set one as the host, one as the client, connect here. Or you can set this virtual VMU as the host, and this is how Elysian Shadows or a homebrew that's going to be using a virtual VMU, Elysian VMU, can connect to this and use this as a remote screen. So imagine Elysian VMU running on, say, your iPhone, and you're playing Elysian Shadows on Steam. Elysian Shadows will have a VMU client on it that will connect to your iPhone, and you can set it here and get the full VMU functionality from the Dreamcast game on your iPhone. So that's pretty sweet. I'm adding a bunch of shit to it every day. Well, not every day. When I'm not working on ES. Right now, it is in open beta, so a lot of people have been testing it. There have been a few issues that have been found. Usually I'm pretty good at fixing them on the weekends when I'm not working on Elysian Shadows. But if you want to go ahead and start beta testing it, it's on our forums, and probably by the time this video comes out, it'll be on our website. For example, one dude found an issue with controllers not fucking read detecting after you disconnect them. And that issue is actually an issue in Elysian Shadows because it shares the same fucking input subsystem. So he actually found something with ES. So yeah, this is something that will be fun to play with. And I hope in the future this will be a tool that encourages people to develop for the VMU, which was traditionally very hard to develop for by offering like a whole integrated debugging environment, and hopefully we can bring other Dreamcast games to Steam and stuff with full VMU support through this tool. This bastard wanted a proof of concept. I guess he didn't believe that I could actually do this. Okay, so I have two versions of Elysian VMU going on. The only difference is I want you to imagine one of these is running on your fucking iPhone, one of these is running on your Dreamcast or Ouya or something. Two Elysian VMUs going on, let's see. Emulation, serial communication, TCP connection manager. Okay, so this one is running as the host, listening for incoming connections. Let me go to, we'll try to make them have sex. And then mating. Yeah, have sex. So please connect. Let's see, I think this one, TCP connection manager, this one can be the client, and connect to localhost. Like I said, this could be anywhere on the fucking internet, and it could be any platform running this. Connect to server, connected. So keep connected, they think they're connecting. Like I said, this isn't 100% working yet, so this is probably gonna fail. So this VMU detected it and it worked fine. This one thinks it's still connecting, but this VMU is basically saying you're a fucking pedophile for trying to mate children, trying to mate fucking chows that are still children. So this is still a work in progress. I think I have some pretty simple timing issues, but you can see that the TCP connectivity is there. It's like so close to working. Probably a good like all-nighter would fix it, but I've been so busy with ES and making you this fucking video that I haven't been able to get around to it, but yeah. And hopefully we will support VMU connectivity like this for our monster taming minigame. When you train your monsters on the VMUs, we want you to be able to link together and trade and battle like this. And so this emulator will be extremely fucking useful when we're trying to debug that kind of functionality. I don't know if we're going to have the whole pedophilia mechanic where you can't try to mate them if they're still children. That kind of sounds like a pain in the ass. We support pedophilia in Elysian Shadows. Not! Don't post it on Reddit.
Gamergate trolls.
God.
Hey everybody, so I'm here with Falco and Patrick. This is like the first little bit of team interaction in the Adventures in Game Development. So we just wanted to announce that we're actually going to be starting to do like Twitch streams every other Sunday, trying to going forward, and then kind of whenever we feel like, just like you might see a stream pop up on like a Monday or a Tuesday, whenever we're like either working or Sundays in particular we want to try and do games or try and like do some work and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'll be there to like
we had when we were Twitch streaming. Yeah, sorry. One of the problems we had when we were Twitch streaming is like we were spending so much time talking to people, which was fine. It was fun. We didn't necessarily get a chance to work much when we were streaming on Twitch. So, yeah. And it also took time away from Adventures in Game Development. So we kind of wanted to make Adventures in Game Development more work-oriented, show off more stuff there, but then hang out with you guys more, play games with you, answer questions, like trade Pokemans and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm gonna be there to moderate so that like if I can kind of funnel the questions so it's not overloaded, and that way Falco can either focus on work or focus on the game, so he's not playing super shittily. Which
yeah,
like, fuck, we're getting more and more organized.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, you're
few
welcome.
More years and we're gonna be like a few more years and we're gonna be like a legit company with suits and shit.
Yeah,
like,
for
so
sure.
You're screen capping 3 of us right now. So which one of us is the big one?
Oh, I'm actually have the whole thing up so that we have like all 3 of our faces, and I'm just little, so that's what I'm doing.
Oh, wow. Oh, Patrick's the big one on my monitor.
Oh yeah. See, like this sexy hairstyle.
No, I'm trying to make sure my hairline looks okay.
Alright.
I'm still like scouting through the animation table, finding the error.
Alright, guys. Well, I just want to talk about that real quick, and yeah, look forward to that. So, see you guys in a little bit.
Alright, cool.
Cool.
Alright, so it's late as all shit, and everyone who would have been recording me has abandoned me. It is... what time is it? 4:25 a.m. officially. That's late as shit. And all I've been doing pretty much all night is staring at normal distribution curves and generating them myself, and tweaking these goddamn Gaussian coefficients for a separable convolution kernel. shader. So yeah, check it out. It's pretty. It's pretty. Why the fuck would I do that, you might ask? Because I wanted to implement motherfucking bloom lighting. That's it. It's done. It's in. That is bloom lighting. A full bloom effect done in real time in the ES engine. It's actually fast as all fuck to implement too. Well, not to implement, it was slow as shit to implement. But it runs extremely well. It's like 1,000,000 times less taxing on the hardware than true dynamic lighting. Let's see, let me add some more of these motherfuckers. We've gotten a pretty good blur radius on them too. I'm pretty happy about that. That's one of the biggest things that people go for when they try to make, when they try to implement this technique, is go for a good radius. You can see as you zoom in, it still looks great. It's a little bit more defined as you zoom in, but that's just the nature of the blurring algorithm. See, as you zoom out, it's a little less blurry, or it's a little more blurry. You have a tiny bit of artifacting there, but I think I can smooth that out. And that's what you get when you have a very, very small number of pixels with a very high intensity there. As you zoom out, the precision of the internal render buffer for these isn't high enough to necessarily represent 1 by 1 pixel of high intensity. Let's see if we can jack this up, make it even bigger. In the old selection view, size, fucking big as shit, 320, boom. Still bloom lit. Actually, the amount of bloom lit shit on screen has absolutely no effect on performance whatsoever, so you could go to town with it. Pull a Tomb Raider and have everything bloom lit to all shit, and it would be fine. It's just as fast to bloom light nothing as it is to bloom light everything. It's kind of an all or nothing effect. For the toolkit, you can come up here and view dynamic lighting, disable it here, and it goes away. So that's without bloom, that's with bloom. So yeah, it's very nice. Patrick can actually determine exactly which pixel of these bastards is going to be generating. Fuck, whoops. Ignore that. It's going to be generating bloom light. Lots of bloom shit, lots of bloom shit, lots of bloom shit. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It just took 1,000,000 years to tweak to get that effect. Oh, also, this is going to be challenging for the Dreamcast, but it is theoretically possible. It might be a little easier than dynamic lighting. Obviously, we can't do it in a nice little fragment shader like this for the convolution kernel, but the Dreamcast does support render to texture, so for these fuckers, we're going to have to render the glow sources in the scene to a texture on the Dreamcast and try to apply a very, very limited Gaussian kernel on a very low resolution texture on Dreamcast to blur them. Since the resolution will be worse on the Dreamcast render target, the artifacting, like what I was showing you here, well, since I jacked it up, you'll notice there's like almost no artifacting anymore. But when this guy was tiny, the artifacting was more prominent. That will be a little more prominent on Dreamcast because of the resolution of the render target. See if I make it tiny. Oh fuck, I made it so small it fucking disappeared, didn't I? Whatever, but yeah, that's bloom lighting. Okay, so I wanted to talk about one of the most advanced concepts I've implemented yet because it was a huge pain in the ass. You guys might be familiar with this from game engines like Unity, prefabbing. It's exceptionally important in something like this. Let's say you want to create like a barrel entity. You create the entity, for example, let me select Julian. You can see he's an entity just like he would be in Unity. He has skeleton component, which has the spine, skeletal animations and attributes. Collidable component, rigid body component, which has like his durability, damping, velocity, force vectors, moment of inertia, stuff like that. Basically, he has all these attributes. If I wanted to make something like a barrel, am I really gonna make all that shit every time? Am I even gonna make it once and then copy paste that barrel a million times and then be saving all that duplicate data? What if I wanted to share data, so if I modify one barrel, maybe Patrick updates the graphics for a barrel, or maybe we change the barrel's mass because we decide, all the barrels are a little too light, we want them to have a little more weight. If you're just copy pasting and duplicating the data every fucking time, that's extremely inefficient, first of all, and that doesn't let you mass update things. So prefabbing is the context, or the concept of letting you create and configure an entity like this once, and then save it as a special file that is a prefab where you can instantiate other entities from. So if you look over here, this is where our prefabs are saved. You create an entity and then you can right click, save it as a prefab, and then they go to in scripts, prefabs. So here's some prefabs. The barrel's what I was talking about. So where the fuck is barrel? So now it's a prefab. You can drag it, drop it, boom, there's a barrel. Boom, another barrel, boom, another barrel. I don't have to sit here and reconfigure this every goddamn time. Not only that, but every barrel has the same mass, has the same velocity. The properties in green means that they're shared properties that are inherited from the parent. And if I want to modify all of these barrels at once, rather than clicking on it and modifying it there, I can actually click on the prefab here, modify it, and save it there, and then all of these are instantiated from that, which means they'll all change. But for example, okay, angry plant, this guy's an asshole. There, I can import enemies this way and beat the shit out of them. I can import, I was making an NPC placeholder today. It's a naked dude. Placeholder NPC, boom, placeholder NPC dialogue. Oh, and I gained 3 experience points from killing Dickwad. Save points are prefabs. Basically anything like that in the game. Save point, HP, MP, full restore. Would you like to save your progress? Yes, no, yes. Tough shit, it's not implemented yet. But this concept is extremely powerful, and one thing that I'm particularly proud of that actually Unity does not do well, to my knowledge, or at least they've always sucked ass about it, is that this data is truly being shared internally. This is serialized in a manner such that when I load these barrels and this skeletal animation, they're truly sharing pointers to the internal structures. They're not just allocating data for every one of them and copying the data over. They're truly sharing the pointers, which is truly minimizing the memory overhead, which is super important for running on the Dreamcast. I don't even know if Unity lets you do that. Another thing I did is, this is actually really cool. For a quick way for creating entities, so there's a breastplate or a helmet, drag and drop the image, boom, it knows, oh fuck, a texture. I'll go ahead and make a default entity with default attributes for that. So you can import things like that and get started with that, and then add your own components, prefab them out. Something else that's pretty cool that I totally did just to fucking show off. If you drag a prefab into a text editor, this shows you a lot about the internals of our engine. So let me drag the save point right here over to a text editor. What does it do? It generates the entire source code for that save. Thanks. It generates the entire source code tree for that save point. And this is actually how all of the saving works in Elysian Shadows. All of our files are simply Lua code returning a table that is deserializing and constructing the entity. So you've heard of JSON, which is JavaScript object, no idea what the fucking N stands for. Well, you can say it.
Node.
Node? Okay. Whatever the fuck. So this is essentially LSON. Lua, script, object, node, whatever. This is the exact same thing JSON is achieving and doing, except since we already have a Lua interpreter, we already have the runtime overhead of it, we already have the parser, why the fuck would we not just represent save files and stuff as Lua tables that we can serialize and deserialize easily. And if something isn't ready for ESDK or ESDK fucks something up, it's like trivial to go in and modify the raw Lua code for this. So you're actually seeing how we save entities. So if you look, entity new name save point, if I click on the save point here, this widget is a live representation of all of the Lua variables, which is also what this is. So name, save point, name. These properties here are the same exact properties here because that's what's in the Lua table. Transform equals position, x, y. Skeleton is this. One cool thing about the engine that's highly efficient is you'll notice position here, x, y, position here has x, y, z. The engine knows the z equals 0 is a default value, so we're not going to sit there and waste bytes. We're not going to waste data in the save file, time parsing it, and run time setting a value if it's a default value. Not only that, but if I'm saving from a prefab, we're also not going to waste time redefining data that has been saved in the prefab or this default too. So if you have an object that's instantiated from a prefab with only minimal modification, like one integer, the object is going to be fucking tiny. It's not even going to be big like the prefab because it's only adding one little thing to the prefab. So that's kind of the fundamentals of how entities work and are represented and serialized in our engine. Okay, the first thing you need to do is read the source glow intensity for the image you're rendering. So Tron does this in a similar way to how we're doing it. Tron for the original Xbox. Here is a texture for a UFO. Here's what it looks like after it's been bloom lit. So the fragment shader takes this diffuse texture and it also takes this glow texture, which has intensity signifying which pixels should be producing the glow effect. So that is what we're using as our source in Elysian Shadows. And the cool thing about this is it allows graphics artists and pixel guys to hand determine exactly which pixel produces which intensity. So it gives a lot of power. So you're reading that glow intensity data from a texture in the fragment shader. In the case of Elysian Shadows, that texture is the normal map. We're actually using the alpha channel of the normal map for those intensity values because the normal map only needs the red, green, and blue channels to represent X, Y, and Z of a normalized direction vector. So it makes sense to do that because it's expensive to sample an entirely separate texture. Okay, the next thing you do is you write these glow intensities in the fragment shader out to a separate render target that I'm calling the glow buffer. So you're writing to the frame buffer the normal diffuse values or normal lit values, and then this render target that is the glow buffer is accumulating all the different glow intensities from the scene. Alright, so now step 3, after you've rendered your entire scene with your normal shader and you've completed rendering to the frame buffer and to the glow buffer, now you swap to a Gaussian blur filter shader. Which is going to be blurring the glow buffer. The type of convolution you're going to be using is called a separable convolution, which is just a fancy way of saying it can be run multiple times in one dimension to equate to being a two-dimensional version. So it's not a 2D blur filter taking width by height as the convolution kernel. It's a one-dimensional one where first you blur the texture horizontally, then you blur it vertically. So what you'll wind up with is, referring back to Tron, this is the base image. This is it blurred horizontally. This is the render, the glow buffer, remember that. This is when you blur it horizontally for the first pass of the separable convolution kernel. And then this is after you blur it vertically. That's what it will look like. Alright, so the last thing you do after you've blurred the glow buffer is then you apply that blurred glow buffer to a quad and render it transparently on top of the frame buffer just to blur the two together. So what that looks like is, here's the final frame buffer, here's the final blurred glow buffer. You just render this on top of this as a transparent polygon, and then boom, there's your finally bloom lit image. Okay, so that probably sounded easy enough, and if you implemented it, it might work, but the problem is it's going to look like fucking shit. That's only half the battle. It's a lot harder than that to get a bloom lighting effect to look good. What's considered a good bloom lighting effect in modern graphics programming is when you can have a tiny pixel of intensity affect a very large radius. And to be able to do that in a reasonable amount of time in a shader and do it in a highly optimized, efficient manner is a pain in the ass. And it's also a pain in the ass just to get the intensity and the amount of blur to look good. And that pain in the ass all boils down to the way that your convolution kernel is written in your Gaussian blur shader. Alright, so what we're looking at is just an example simple 3x3 convolution kernel. The way this works is this is what your shader will be doing that is blurring the bloom texture, the bloom map, before it's applied back to the main frame buffer. What it does is it looks at one pixel at a time and it takes a weighted average of that pixel with all of the neighboring pixels. So if this is the pixel we're currently looking at to blur, it takes the weight of this pixel, and all of its neighbors, and it creates an average. So obviously for a good blur or bloom effect, you want pixels closest to it to be lit the most. So these have higher coefficients than these. Okay, so these weights assigned to each pixel in the convolution kernel are called Gaussian fucking weights. Gaussian coefficients. My bad, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's like 4 in the morning. Okay, so these basically come from you. Usually what you do is you take a Gaussian curve, such as this one, and then you find the coefficients that will produce this kind of a curve. This curve, very steep, means that if you have something that's glowing, say a point like this, it will glow very intense close to that point and then die off relatively quickly. Problem is, these Gaussian curves alone tend to look like shit in games. They don't actually look the way you want them to look. They don't have the kind of vibrance or intensity with what you're looking for. So the trick is, instead of using the sets of coefficients from one curve, what you can do is take 3 different curves with distinct characteristics. We'll call this one the steep one, we'll call this one the wide one, and this one the normal one. So the wide one is like much more subtle, but the glow will affect a much larger area, so it'll be more like that. Much wider, but much more subtle. The normal one might be a combination of the two, kind of like that. Not really as wide as this, but not really as steep as this, so it will be a little more intense out to here. So if you remember from Algebra 1, Geometry, the classes where you fuckers are probably asleep and making fun of nerds like me, you can add the coefficients of these polynomials together to create a final curve that has characteristics of all of these curves. I'm not going to draw exactly what it would look like, because I don't know, it would probably look close to the normal distribution. But then that will have characteristics of all 3, and if you use the combined Gaussian coefficients of these 3 in your convolution kernel, you will get a glow effect that looks much better. It'll look as good as a glow effect that's done in multiple passes, even though you're only doing it in one pass through a convolution kernel.
Alright, so I'm still in the middle of refactoring of Desert tileset because I got sick, but things are going great on other fronts, so I'm still happy. Basically, the way I'm working is that I'm building this sort of a mock-up scene in Photoshop before, and because it's easier to work holistically on an entire sort of map, so to speak, yeah. And then I'm exporting into tiles. Obviously as I build it, I make sure that it's tileable and shit, and then I export it into tiles, and then into engine, and then I essentially try to recreate what I did, because unfortunately with this type of complexity it's really hard not to make accidental errors. So I make sure that all that I build in Photoshop is possible to build in the engine. So this is the stage that I'm at now. Basically I need to, it's all cut, but I need to do some refactoring to make it consistent with the tiling scheme that I decided to use, which I explained before. And yeah, that's what I mean now. Basically, this is going to be Wait, I was like, oh yeah, I really like this one because I put some like fake shadows in here. Like that's so fucking beautiful. Obviously, engine's going to give it for free to us, but I need to simulate it in Photoshop. Anyhow, basically, what I was going to say. Oh yeah, this is going to be like the desert area where there's this entire huge desert which is actually which is actually, Jesus, I'm so sick. It's an industrial complex covered in sand, so it's like that the earth is just scorched and poisoned because there's like lots of pollution and shit. It's almost uninhabitable for people. So you have and the only materials, because it's like many miles high underground and above ground with all those like supermassive steel structures. So if you try to dig into the ground, you will sooner or later just find like a steel floor or some mesh, uh, you know, part of steel construction, and you start going inside the um, like the buried industrial buildings, yeah. And the caves are actually just entrances inside those buildings and shit. So the only materials available in this desert is lots of industrial technology, like valves, pipes, metal sheets, some computers, but shit that's like industrial style. So it's very rugged, it's very durable, but it's not pretty. It's not user friendly, so to speak. Like you gonna have a computer size of the room or something, and they're gonna scavenge it for parts. So yeah, it's basically it's this giant industrial complex that people start re-inhabiting, and the only natural resources in there are poisoned water, which you need to purify, which they thankfully have a water plant that they maintain and that can deal with this, though there are some issues. Spoiler alert, because there always are issues in video games. Uh, so you only get poison water, or lots of sand, or lots of metal. So that's what they're building their homes and everything out from, right? From the abandoned technology that they're scavenging from those ruins. And that's like, there is some really good shit, don't get me wrong. But there are also monsters which are made of metal and they will kill the fuck out of you. So it's on the scale of, niceness to live, it's kind of 50-50.
Hey guys, this is Jeremy again. Just wanted to kind of go through my first approach to making music, which I kind of started about, I don't know, a good year ago or so ago. I found this really cool app there. It's called Gadget. It's right there in the middle of the screen. It's by a company called Korg, and Korg makes really incredible, holy Skype Batman. Looks like Falco's bombing me with messages about sleeping medications. Cool, I'll check those in just a second. Or I'll check them right now. I'll check them right now. Hang on a second. Okay, so that was a quick Skype with Patrick. He actually had some really, really cool ideas that have me super pumped about music, which we'll probably talk about in a future video because it's really badass. Anyway, where the heck were we? If I can find my actual finger, not the reflection. So again, this is an iPad 3rd generation, so this is not like super amazing, crazy technology that we're talking about here. This is really, really legacy hardware that we're dealing with. And the program that I'm using here is called Korg Gadget. Korg is a very, very famous, well-known manufacturer of MIDI instruments. And it was actually the first company that I kind of stumbled on when kind of getting into the whole electronic music scene. Anyway, what we have here are the different tracks of the Lauren song here, and at the bottom you'll notice that we've got these keyboards down here and these different sound libraries. And what Korg has done in their infinite wisdom, and I'm not being sarcastic here, this is actually genius. They have taken all of their sounds, which, let's be honest, are nothing more than just, sound libraries, essentially, right? The collections of high-quality samples. And they've distilled them down into this amazing software that they call Gadget, right? And so if I were to hit this function button down here, like so, I get various options, but actually what I wanted to do was not that. I wanted to pop up here to this guy. Let's see, let me get this going before I show you. Okay, cool. So what I've done is I've brought up these different instruments, right? Which, let me just hit the play button to kind of show you what's going on there. Okay, so that's the beginning, and I can play from any track. I can go like this. I can pop on over here. Other thing I can do is kind of, if I hold my finger down, I can just kind of move this track around if I really wanted to kind of change the order of it. Let's say I didn't like it there. I want to move it further down the piece, or if I want to come in here, get rid of this guy one more time, and if I hit the function button, I get some options that you'll see, kind of like copy, delete, duplicate. Duplicate will just take that track and create an exact copy of it on the next line. So it's really, really, really versatile and can do things really quickly that a typical sort of DAW, I don't know how to pronounce that actually, I just call it a DAW, digital audio workstation, can't do. So it's really, really, really well designed, and Korg has really kind of disrupted the market with this project. So I really encourage anybody who's interested in, gosh, if I could say really one more time, that'd be awesome. But I encourage anybody who's interested in music, specifically electronic music or game music or any type of soundtracks, being a composer, check this program out. Talk about low barriers to entry. It's like $30 to $40, right? And one thing you can do, let me pop that back open again like I originally had it. So if I bring that console up and I hit the function button, I get the opportunity here then to change. So I can change like any of these instruments to a variety of other instruments, right? And here's my list of keyboards that I have access to. Now these are actual real-life Korg keyboards, and you get the entire sound library from those boards, right? So it's really, really awesome. And as you can see down here, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner some of these tiles. I have the opportunity to go off and buy these various sounds. I have not elected to do so, but you most certainly could. And there are tons of these, right? They're not just the ones that are listed here on the screen. The ones in particular that are interesting for ES. Let's see. We got that second row. This guy here. That guy's got the sickest, hardest hitting drum patterns that I wouldn't say patterns because you have to make the music yourself, but the hardest hitting drums on sort of the of the boards that come with the software. Right below that, this guy here, that's the Kingston. That's basically got your chiptunes on it, and it's really, really cool. I might pop it open just for funsies. I'm not going to save this project, so it doesn't matter. But let's play a little something something on here. So this is like your little area where you can kind of sample the current selected sound that you've got. And what you can do after that is kind of change things up, come back down here and sample. Don't like that. Let's go down to this one. How about this one? And you can see you've just got some really cool chip tunes for a very, very low barrier entry cost, right? You don't need any expensive hardware. Just a $40 piece of software, and you've got yourself a digital audio workstation with tons of sounds. And I totally, full throttle, wholeheartedly recommend this. So if I were to tap in some notes here, looks like I've got triplet patterns in, because just like in the Ableton software, those lines represent a beat, and I just dropped 3 of those in, so we got eighth note triplets. Let's see here. Now, if you could hear that da-da-dum at the very beginning, let's do a solo on this. So if I come down here and I hit solo, like I just did, that's going to allow me to just hear the sound only. So there you go. So what that does, it's really powerful actually if you think about it. You don't have to be a piano player, which I'm not, by the way, by trade. You can come in and pencil in your notes if you know some music theory, which I recommend everybody, kind of get into if you're going to be doing this kind of thing. And even if you don't, if you just have a good ear for music and you know what sounds good together without really knowing the details of which chords you're playing, or a circle of fifths, or any of those kinds of things, you can come in here and make a really well-crafted, composed piece of music. So, again, another plug for Korg. Great job on the software, guys. Totally recommend you all go pick it up.
Finally fucking came. Check this shit out. Alright, first of all, children, don't be fucking with knives unless they're big badass knives, then it's okay. So, this just came in the mail today from Razer. We're right now signing a contract with Razer for releasing on their platform and helping to fund some of the ES development once we present them with a beta version of ES. This is actually really fucking beautiful. This is the Forge TV. It's kind of like the spiritual successor to Ouya, except it's by Razer after they acquired Ouya. This thing's supposed to be compatible with all the different Ouya software. And by targeting, there's a special way you can target this thing. It's called like a universal build, which lets you target this and Ouya simultaneously. So we'll see how that actually works out, because that would be sweet if it required minimal effort. Problem is, they say, you don't have to target Ouya, you just have to target this, but I don't really want to fuck over every single backer who wanted to play ES on the Ouya. Which, by the way, while I'm at it, if you actually want ES on the Ouya, I'm going to support it no matter what. Please comment and let me know, like, you're still there. I want kind of a head count to know. The Ouya had some kind of abysmal specs, and I wasn't very happy with how the dynamic lighting engine was turning out on it. There really wasn't a whole lot I could do, because the fragment shader performance was pretty much just shit on there. So there's no per pixel lighting right now, it's all per vertex on the Ouya. But this thing looks to have a shitload better specs than the Ouya ever. Oh my god, that is actually very pristine. This is the controller for it. This is the first I've ever seen of it. Welcome to the cult of Razer. Sweet. It feels very much like the Xbox 360. Very much. I like. Ooh, that D-pad is pretty nice too. The D-pad feels like PS1, PS2. The buttons are kind of not very pressury, but no, this is very cool. Oh, that is just like the 360. All right, sweet. So let's see what the actual box looks like. I'm under the impression it's supposed to look like the Apple TV, like a really sleek, flat, little, tiny, minimalistic box. I know it's black. Damn, this packaging is just fucking epic, I'm not gonna lie. Jesus Christ, that's small. Okay, I didn't know it was that small. This is the Razer Forge TV. So, the spiritual successor to the Ouya right now. Ouya's over here. Let's compare Razer Forge TV, Ouya. Not that the Ouya was ever big to begin with. Let's see what it comes with. Is this a USB power cable? I don't know. I don't know how to open this, and I don't want to fuck it up because it just looks so sweet. Come on, man. Come on. Ah, it is a power cable, and then this is a USB to AC adapter for powering the bitch. It's really sweet. Does it have an Ethernet port, or is it Wi-Fi? Might have both. Ethernet, yeah. HDMI out, USB out. I think that's for keyboards and mice. So, yeah, it's the first I've seen of this. You guys will get to see us getting ES running on it from the ground up. I've never fucking seen any of this before. It's gonna be pretty sweet.
So, again, I'm not a pro at this stuff yet. I'm still kind of feeling my way around. So, I'm going to give every digital audio workstation, or DAW, as I call them at least, they're due. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of start things out with Ableton. I'm actually 3 days away from it expiring, so at that point I'll probably move on to like FL Studio and try out a couple other well-known digital audio workstations after that, till I decide which one I'm gonna buy, which one I'm gonna put my hard-earned cash into, right? So I think, what do we have selected here as our instrument? Well, let's see. Let's tab over here, and you can see I've got 16 total tracks here to pick up all the polyphonic sounds from the keyboard. It's kind of a difficult concept to explain at first, but this keyboard is so versatile that it required quite a lot to get it to kind of going with Ableton. Sorry for the reflection there. Up at the top, I've got my instruments. What I got here? Okay, yeah, so I got voices. So let's do a quick like show and tell here. So if I hit a C note here, all right, those are some, you know, some lower register voices. Now if I wanted to do something crazy and funky, right? So you kind of get the idea what this keyboard does. It's a very light touch, very light touch. I'm barely touching it. Now I'm going to slowly depress it harder. Okay, or I can give it some vibrato. Probably another instrument would be better to demo the vibrato, so let's pick something else here. See? And you can get kind of a nice vibrato going on there. And it's, you know, it's versatile enough to do anything a normal keyboard can do, so. And you notice that if I pressed off to the side of the key, so here's a direct hit on the key. Here's kind of off to the side. I don't know if you can hear the flutter tongue, but when you play a flute, you know, you're blowing air through the little hole in the flute. But if you kind of, how do I explain a flutter tongue? It's exactly what it is. It's kind of like if you were trying to speak with sort of a, I don't know, a Spanish undertone or something like that. You know how they roll their R's? It's like rolling your R while playing, right? Like so. And if I kind of go off to the side of this key here, you can hear I can do a flutter tongue. So there's just a ton of expressiveness on this board, and it's absolutely awesome. So again, you know, got our slides. So it's just a really fantastic instrument. I'm having a ton of fun with it. I haven't had a chance to really work it into any of the songs that I've done. I've pretty much done all those on the iPad, which I've shown you. But today's project is kind of about porting that stuff over to this board and using its sounds instead. So I'll get a couple clips of that as.
Alright, so something I wanted to show you guys is a lot of you already bought this as a Kickstarter add-on. Everything that I've either learned throughout all my time developing Elysian Shadows, everything useful in graduate school that's contributed to me being the engineer I am today, everything from Elysian VMU, the toolkit, basically anything coding or engineering related in my life, I've been logging in these journals. And a lot of you have already bought one of these for $10 online. I'm going to be scanning this in and handing out PDFs of this. You can see it, basically it details everything. So right here is part of the 2D, 3D dynamic perspective. Here's separating axis theorem, point of contact algorithm, malloc versus new v-pointer fundamental fucking misunderstanding, something I had wrong with the code. Here's some of the secrets to our success on Kickstarter, shadow mapping for the 3D shadows, proposed high dynamic range lighting for the engine, toolkit table integration for accessing the Lua tables through the toolkit. In selection view, like what I was showing, look, the tile group attributes for how I was creating that GUI for modifying tile attributes. Basically, this is like my life's work. And
It's also a lot of big words.
Yeah, it's a lot of big words, but I think this is written in a way that with a little bit of studying for this, you could basically rip off my life's work. And as an apology for being late, I'm going to scan this in and I'm going to send it to all of the different Kickstarter backers, all of you, because I'm late and I'm fucking sorry about that. I know a lot of you probably don't give a shit, but this thing really means a lot to me, so hopefully this gesture of good faith will restore a little bit of confidence in me. If not, fuck you. I'm just kidding, kind of. So for those of you who bought this, who are now pissed that I'm giving this one away to everyone, you'll get that, and then I'm already halfway done with the second book. You'll get this one. This will be the one you bought, basically. This is volume 2, which I'm already on. I'll be giving away volume 1 to everyone. I'm halfway done with volume 2. A lot of C++ 11 stuff, power-ups and mechanics. Volume 2 has a lot of gameplay aspects of ES, Elysian Shadows. It has a lot of Lua things, choppable grass. It talks some about the gameplay mechanics and some notes as I've been playing different games like Chrono Trigger on things that we'd like to implement. Oh, it also goes into very depth, or a shit ton of detail on Elysian VMU and the emulator core and how I'm emulating it. Here's the different, here's basically the memory layout of the VMU, rundown of the different instruction types and bit fields of them. Here's the frequency response of the buzzer timer in Elysian VMU.
Show that again.
Which one?
Frequency response.
That's, shit, where the fuck is the frequency? Oh yeah. So that's the, when you give the different frequencies for the buzzer to generate, this is how many decibels of volume it can produce. So it's actually better producing certain volumes. But it's not all about the VMU. There's some, actually, here's what I was showing earlier. A lot of shit about the battle mechanics. Here's the type affinities charts for elemental things. Random gameplay mechanics from looking at Zelda. Text box mechanics. Here's serial over TCP protocol for the VMU. There's a lot of good shit. So this will be the one that you guys are buying, and then everyone will get that one for free. Oh yeah, here's looking at the different damage calculations from Final Fantasy XII weapons and deciding what we liked about that and if we liked any of those mechanics, and looking at a lot of different equations for calculating stats from like Pokemon and stuff like that, and trying to decide exactly how we want to normalize our combat damage and how we want all that to be calculated. So that's more what Volume 2 is. Although there's a lot of fucking low-level code and stuff in Volume 2 also. I think this is
More
where
big
Bloom
words.
Lighting is. Do what?
More big words.
A lot of big words. But yeah, this one I'll be giving to all the backers for free. And if as a backer you want to fucking, I don't know, host it on the Pirate Bay or something, whatever, it's kind of a dick move to everyone else, but I won't complain. Because, I mean, I'm giving you that as a PDF. I need to figure out how to fucking produce a PDF from that. What do I do? Walk into Kinko's, like, here, I've got some fucking code in this notebook, give me a PDF. Because I also want to make you guys, like, a table of contents so you know where the fuck everything is.
I've got an answer to that.
Really?
Portable scanner.
Oh my god, that'll take a year. But anyway, I want to let you guys know that's coming up.
To kind of take a second and show you the new equipment I got. This is called a Rolly Seaboard Rise. And about a year or so ago, I started following this guy called Jordan Rudis, and some of you may know him. He's the keyboardist for Dream Theater. Totally recommend you check him out. Anyway, he had a hand in designing this keyboard. I saw a video of him, and he talked about, you know, when piano players are playing, a lot of times when they press down their chords or their keys, you can see their hands kind of wobble on the key as they're playing. And while that looks nice and it kind of makes the musician feel a little bit better about connecting to his instrument, what it doesn't do is actually produce anything in meaningful sound. And so this keyboard is kind of designed just for that purpose, right? As you can see, it's all rubberized. It's all nice and squishy looking. And trust me, you got to feel it to really get the experience. But anyway, so this is just kind of like an example of what its MO kind of is, right? So if I press a note down, like very softly, see, I barely made it register. And then I kind of give it a little bit more juice, a little bit more velocity. You can see that it's picking up the velocity of the weight in which the force in which I'm exacting on the key, right? So in order to do something, right? And you can kind of see that this thing has a ton of expressiveness in it, and it's going to be a really great instrument as I get better at playing the keyboard. That will really kind of supplement and augment my ability to really put emotion and to really get what's in my head onto the page. So looking forward to it, guys, and please be patient with me as I learn how to use this thing.
All right, so one of the things I've been working on now that we have new team members who are confident, competent, actually fucking productive, and now that the toolkit is so far along, technically it's about like 99% complete. We could actually be releasing it right now to the beta backers, but the reason we're not is because the minute I do that, you guys are going to be logging so many issues that are general purpose, because it's a general purpose SDK that we're developing, that aren't even directly relating to Elysian Shadows, that my time will be full-time bug fixing for that, and I won't even have a chance to finish Elysian Shadows and help the rest of the team out. So we're actually going to have to wait on that. But in preparation for that, I've developed something here for managing issues and tickets from within the toolkit. So on the team, we're all using GitLab as our backend for source control, for project management, milestones, bug tickets, things like that. So under toolkit, you can log bugs, like, okay, I found some shit. Someone logged a bug where the sound plays when switching areas even if sound is off. Fuck, I guess that's true. Cool. Well, I'm turning on the Lauren music just because. There's other issues that can be logged. So the thing that I built, if you go to Tools, GitLab Manager, this right here
Kill the music.
Shit. Did that fuck everything up?
No, go ahead.
Alright, my bad. I just really like that song. So here under Tools we have an entire manager. Oh my fucking god, if I can find the window. We have an entire manager for managing issues in GitLab. Basically, you type in the host URL, your private token, and you can authenticate with our GitLab server. So the active project is assets right now, which is what we're working in. And now, when the toolkit crashes and you restart the toolkit, this will automatically pop up and it will ask you if you want to submit an issue to us for bug fixes. And we'll be able to post status updates, like that's not really an issue, you're just a fucking dumbass. Or we'll be able to post that, okay, we fixed it, and you can see other issues, see if other people have seen it. So let's post a test issue. Test issue, you can decide what label it falls under. So I'll say this falls under ES Toolkit backend description. Something is fundamentally fucked with Falco's code. We'll ask you to provide the steps to reproduce, and automatically it will be able to attach the debug log of all the events that happen while you're running the toolkit that's automatically generated in the background. And then you can optionally provide us with screenshots, shit like that. And then you submit the issue, and issue created successfully, and pray to God it actually shows up here in GitLab. Okay, test issue from me. This was posted from the toolkit. So you can see, from this issue, you can see the version number. Since this is a local build that doesn't actually have this, but a release build like what you guys will be running will have the exact Git branch, the exact Git commit, the exact job that built it, the build number, the node, as in which one of these remote build slaves built it, and the timestamp. And it will have your description, the steps to reproduce, and all the other stuff like that. And I'll be able to say, like, not really a problem, you're just a dipshit. Comment and close issue. Not really, I wouldn't really do that. Hopefully. Unless you actually did do something stupid. Then I'm just kidding. But, so that's really useful for allowing you not only to log issues if you find little bugs, but also to catch runtime issues and immediately provide us with feedback that we can look at on the GitLab server.
What's happening now is I've got that same track, that baseline track looping, right? So I can sit here and just select whatever instrument I want to hear how it might sound on that instrument. So let's give it a shot. That's pretty darn awesome. Very juicy. I like it. So that's kind of the process, right? Really rapid fire way of getting your music where you want it. One thing that happened that I really wasn't crazy about is if you'll notice here at the end of this little string section, it's going to release very harshly because I haven't padded it with any sound to like give it a nice even roll off. If you can imagine, the release should kind of cascade its way out of the picture instead of being just a direct cut from it, because you don't get any of the benefits of the reverb and everything like that. So you'll see what I'm saying. Check it out. Oops, let's start it somewhere before the attack. Let's do that. And then you'll notice here at the end of this track, it'll just straight drop off the face of the earth, which is not what we want. Well, okay, so in that example, since Ableton continues to sort of process it, that's how it sounds. But if we were to come over here, you'll hear what I just heard. See this waveform here? It just gets cut right the hell off there. So let's check it out, see what it sounds like. We'll get that same feel. Did you hear that direct cut? Now stylistically, that might be what you're looking for, but in this particular piece, I'd kind of prefer a more natural tailoring off of that sound. So what I'm going to do instead, when I export this audio clip, what I forgot to do originally, is you can pop in here, go like so, give it maybe 4 beats there, and that each one of these represents a beat in these lines here. Now let's go ahead and do an insert MIDI clip right there. See that guy? So we'll rock that out. What that does is that lets that sound go ahead and kind of fade off naturally, because you're putting in 4 beats of nothing, essentially, right? So you'll hear the difference when I get this sucker exported.
Okay, alright, so this is hard and a pain in the ass to show off, but for those of you who didn't know and haven't been keeping up with my social media bitching and tirading, we now support 4-player multiplayer in Elysian Shadows. So what you have here is a device demonstration. This is a pain in the ass because I'm one fucking dude. I only have fucking 2 hands. I can pull out my dick to use controller 3 or something, but I'm not going to. So basically all I've done is I've duplicated Julian 4 times and I've added them all to the party. They're all party members right now. You can see, so Xbox 360 controller, Julian. PS4 controller, Julian, works. This is the Razer Forge TV controller, works, and this is the PS3 controller. So something that we wanted to do with the 4-player, it was inspired by Secret of Mana. If you haven't played that, it's 3-player co-op multiplayer, but there's some things about it that are quite a pain in the ass, like the fact that you have to basically follow the first person around, and if you don't, you get stuck off the screen and you can't really proceed. It's kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog, where Sonic is like, if you get to play Sonic, you're the main character, and Tails, the game doesn't really give a shit about you. You get stuck off screen, it doesn't wait for you. One of the benefits we have of having a 3D engine is we're going to be zooming out in 3D, like Super Smash Bros, to keep all of the action, all the players on screen. We're not just going to favor player 1 like that. So, you know, if the other players start moving off screen and stuff, we're going to be dynamically scaling and zooming out to keep all of their shit going on screen. At least to an extent. You can't go too fucking far and have us like render 1,000,000 polygons, so we're going to have to cap it at some point, and it'll be like Smash Bros. There'll be like a meter showing that you're up there. For multiplayer, there's some other challenges we're going to have to face, like for example, how we want it to kind of be like Phantasy Star Online in that you can play the game by yourself, but you can play it co-op by bringing your controller, your VMU. You can, if you're playing on Dreamcast, we want you to be able to bring your Dreamcast controller, plug it in with a Dreamcast to USB converter, load from your VMU, and play it like that at your friend's house. But how do we handle it when everyone has their own copy of different party members? When one of you is further ahead in the story, how do we handle drops like that? Those are things that we're going to try to handle, but that's how we want it to be, so that this game does not have to be where one of you buys the game and the save file is joint at all times, you know, and then one guy owns the file. We want it to be like where you can all have your own files and level up independently or level up together. So that's one of the big challenges that we're going to be solving and facing now that we have fully functional 4-player support.
I've completely dropped in that new track. See there at the end, it doesn't just cut off. It's got a little bit of padding there to work with. And that's kind of what I wanted, at least in this particular piece. I think the other sounded pretty cool too, but that's not exactly what I had in mind when I made the piece. So I'll go ahead and start it in the same spot. Here we go. Man, I just love those strings. They sound so darn real. Very subtle, I like it. Here we go. You hear that tailoring off of the sound? That's how you kind of accomplish that. You just pad it with a little bit of extra space to give it a chance to do so.
Alright, so one of the most annoying pains in my goddamn ass that might be a pain in the ass for some of you fellow developers is the fact, so we're using GitLab for version control, task management and shit. We've been using Jenkins for continuous integration, build server, that kind of shit. Well, GitLab Community Edition used to fucking support Jenkins integration, which is trivial to fucking support. And then the latest version of GitLab decided we're going to drop that from the Community Edition. We're going to support the $1,000 build servers with the Community Edition, which is free, but we're not going to support the free fucking build server or continuous integration server that everyone who's using the free version is going to want to use to screw them into having to buy the Enterprise Edition. So basically it broke all of our builds and we had no way of interfacing with Jenkins. So what I had to do is I had to fucking learn Ruby and write a pretty complex Ruby script. Actually, I'm pretty proud of it. It's pretty cool. To be triggered from GitLab as a build and communicate with Jenkins through the Jenkins API and HTTP requests through a Ruby script. But actually, it's even more powerful than what I was able to do in Jenkins raw, the way the pipeline works. It's really fucking sweet. So here's the Ruby script, and I've made it pretty abstract, so if anyone else is having the same problem with how the fuck do I use Jenkins with the latest community edition of GitLab, I might post this for free on ElysianShadows.com, and I made it in a way that it's retardedly easy to expand upon it. So look, you can see here I'm defining the different Jenkins jobs that are here. These are all different jobs, Elysian VMU, blah blah blah, Elysian Toolkit. So here's all the different jobs. I've created a Jenkins job class and a Jenkins pipeline that's highly parallelizable and lets you create pipelines. So these are all the different jobs. I can say, I can give it a callback function or lambda for which job to trigger next and for conditions to see if that job should even trigger. So I can say only trigger this job if there were changes in the toolkit directory, only trigger this job if there were changes in the VMU directory, only trigger the unit testing jobs if those actually change. But anyway, you can see how easy it is. Like, this is how I create the job, couple lines, and then I add them to the job queue, and then I'm pulling the job queue. So let me build from fucking GitLab. This is triggering a build right here. So it's running the build, and here's the build output. Shit, that was not actually fucking triggering a build. Let me retry it. Okay, now it's triggering a build. Build pending. You go over to Jenkins, you should be able to see that through the web API, boom, there's all the shit that I configured here. The Ruby script is telling it to build all this in parallel. The Debian build, the Mac build, the Windows build, and then it's going to know which unit test to run based on what actually passes and stuff. Here's the output from my Ruby script on the server, so you can see job manager, changes detected since the last commit. There were no changes detected from Elysian VMU. You can see it's skipping some of the builds, and basically it's polling to see how the builds are going. So you can see right now that the fucking Mac build failed? What the fuck?
Little Mr. Somebody got into my plant while I was composing music, which, you know, frankly is a pretty common occurrence. Not the plant itself, but some kind of distraction because somebody's not getting enough attention. And that somebody is you. You. What is wrong with you? Yeah, you know what you did. Come on, face the music. Let's tell the world what a bad little puppy you are. Yeah, you look pretty sad about it there, buddy. What is the meaning of this? Thought I already wrote the song for Lauren. Well, much to my shock and dismay, I took another look at Lauren yesterday for the first time in many, many months. In fact, since having seen it in AIGD. And it is not the Lauren that we have all come to know and love. It's quite a bit different. So, long story short, the music no longer fits. And it is precisely why you never want to fly blind, right? But when in my defense, when I was doing the original Lauren, it was very much sort of, hey Falco, here's my vision of what Lauren should sound like. Check it out. What do you think? And of course, he ended up liking it. I shouldn't say of course, but he ended up liking it a lot. Said it was epic. It fits so great. And so I thought we were in business. Until last night when I saw Lauren and the impressive, incredible transformation it has gone through, and the song no longer fits. So we're going back to the drawing board. We're going to go for something possibly a little bit more epic. Well, I wouldn't say more epic. The first song was pretty darn epic, but something more lush, more beautiful, something more fitting of a nice little mountain shire kind of feel to it, right? Lots of greens, lots of water now, much more of a kind of a slopey, rolling hills kind of feel to it, which I'm sure you guys will see at some point in the very near future. Anyway, I gotta get to making a song here, folks.
Hey everyone, it's Brandon again, here with that contest I was talking about in my introduction. So, what is this contest? Well, actually, before I get started, I am in my girlfriend's room at my girlfriend's house. Don't judge me. This is the place I had to record because it was the place I was at, and this was the last thing I had to record for Adventures in Game Development, Chapter 33. Anyway, what is this contest? Well, we are calling out to all you artists out there, pixel artists, concept artists, people who doodle in their spare time, anybody. So, what this contest is a Elysian Shadows monster design contest. So you guys are going to submit designs for certain monsters that you think are really cool, and you're going to submit that using the hashtag MyESMonster or sending your designs to elysianbrandon@gmail.com. So with that, we're going to search through every single design that is submitted and pick our top 10, and then we are going to leave it up to our fans, all the people out there, to decide their top 3 picks. And the top 3 picks that make it are going to make it into Elysian Shadows itself. And Patrick wanted me to have a short disclaimer for you guys. Some designs are liable to a little bit of change just so they can fit a certain biome that we decide for them, or if Patrick thinks that a certain part should be changed just to make it fit in with Elysian Shadows a little bit better. That being said, I'm really excited for this contest. I hope you guys are too, and I will see you guys in the next Adventures in Game Development.
Oh, god damn it, that's not oh, fuck! That's not Julian. I accidentally saved a copy of Julian. Fuck! Oh, fuck, god damn it. I copied and pasted, and I didn't realize I had the character. Fuck! Alright, so this is just an example 3x3 convolution kernel. This is what's used to basically blur the glow map, or glow texture, glow target, when you are applying the bloom effect. So what it does is for every pixel on screen, or on the render target, it looks at that pixel, and it looks at all the neighboring pixels, and it averages them with alright. Okay, so these pixel weights that are assigned in the convolution kernel are called Gaussian coefficients. Sorry, try again. Oh, my bad. I even have the keyboard dynamically detecting. Oh, let me push play on this bitch. Alright, here's Lauren Forrest right now. So obviously, you can walk around and excuse me? What the fuck? This is Falco Gurgis at fuck knows what o'clock, bloom lighting take 2 or 3 or a million or something. View. Dynamic lighting. Bloom. Fuck! That is a lot of bloom lighting. That's what I call the old, this is what it looks like when you play the new Tomb Raider on fucking Xbox 360. Might be a lot of bloom. Let me try again.
Whoa, 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 so that's it? That's it. Just a bunch of math and low-level code and shit that I don't even understand? And what the hell is this thing? Visual memory unit, more like vaginal monitor unit. I can guarantee you that no self-respecting indie game developer, like the guys who made Mighty No. 9, would ever support such a shitty peripheral. So basically, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that these assholes took the money and ran, and they give good game developers like me a bad name. As a matter of fact, I'm almost positive that I could do this entire game in a weekend in Game Maker. Well, okay, I don't actually know that for sure, because I've never actually created anything in my entire life, but I know how to make Excel spreadsheets, I can make levels on Super Smash Bros. And one time, I made an entire replica of the female vagina in Minecraft for my anatomy class. Well, but I got a C on that, because how was I supposed to know the clit's on top and not the bottom? Whatever, man. God damn, I look good. Time to go pick up some bitches from Starbucks.